Hi, my name is Ruth Moto. For almost a decade now, I've been doing everything design, from fashion design, furniture design, and now interior design. I'm super excited to bring you on this journey, even as we dive into design conversation with Ruth. We'll look at everything from residential, building, construction, and commercial design. So jump right in. So, I did my very first office in 2017. It was a little travel shop that wanted their guests to experience an African feel when they get into it. Fast forward to 2020, I had my very first project, which needed me to go through the entire design process. It was a poultry organization that is prominent in a number of African countries, and it was a big deal. So, it needed me to basically come up with how I was going to execute this process from the very beginning all the way to the end when I deliver. Hi, my name is Ruth Moto, and welcome to Design Conversations with Ruth, Commercial Design. On this episode, I want to talk to you about the design process. And basically what I use is a process called the Double Diamond that is adopted from the British Design Council. In this process, it basically gives you a visual on how to go about your design process with a visual input. And you can use this across any sector, any industry, regardless of the type of methods and the tools that you're using. This helps both the organization and also the designer in that you have a very common goal and vision with what it is that you want to be able to accomplish. So let's dig into it. So the very first thing that you are looking into as you're going through the Double Diamond is what we call Discover. The Double Diamond is a 4-process series. So you have what you call the discovery process. In the discovery process, what you're looking at is what is the problem that you have. And during this process, you're asking yourself a lot of W questions. You know the W questions, right? You have your why, your what, your when, your where. And sometimes it's not a W question that you're asking, it's an H question, which is how are we going to accomplish this? So I'm going to use this poultry organization as an example of how we did this process. When I had gotten into the whole design process with this organization, fortunately, they had already gone through the process. I'm not sure if they knew that they were going through the Double Diamond process, but they had already gone through the discovery of the problem. So let me walk you through. They had an office space, and this office space was used for a number of activities. So it was a customer service center, meaning that they were receiving a number of customers who were coming. In this service center, it wasn't just walk-in customers who were just coming for queries. It was also a payment center. So someone wants to buy a chicken, this is the place they're going to go to. But also you would find that the customers would have problems with the chickens that they had already. So meaning they needed to get some type of advice. So they were also going to a query center. But then when they also have an issue with the chicken, they needed some vaccines and they were buying from the very same place. So you look at it, there's a number of activities that are already happening here. And over the time, they discovered that the revenue was growing. The number of customers who were coming to this place was also growing, but the waiting period was very, very long. And that was causing a lot of frustration in the clients who were coming into place. So during this process, they asked a number of questions. First of all, with their staff, who were basically experiencing the customers as they were coming in. How is it like? We open very early. They would open as early as 5 o'clock. People walk in. Why is the car park full? Why are people walking in at 5 and walking out at 7? What is the experience that you are having? The staff came up with a number of answers that helped them. But they also asked questions to the customers. What is your experience when you come here? When you drive through, what are you expecting to get? What time frame are you expecting to get? Either it's your vaccines that you're getting, or if it's your one-day checks that you're getting, what is your overall experience? And also they ask themselves, where do we want our business to go? With those questions, then they were able to start coming up with a plan of what is the overall look they wanted to have. First of all, as an organization, but what is the overall experience they wanted their customer to have? The second thing that comes in the double diamond is the definition. So after you've collected all the information from your discovery process, then you refine your problem statement, right? And you discover that as you are asking so many questions to different people who are involved in this whole process, you come up with a lot of answers, but you have to refine it and fully break it down. And when you break it down, that's when you are able to start coming up with solutions. So basically, we can say that the problem statement at this point was they wanted to let their customers have a very smooth experience as they come, and they wanted their staff to be more efficient and more productive. But they also wanted to have a very formal space that business transactions could happen, all the different avenues that were happening, whether people were buying chickens, whether people were buying vaccines, whether people were making payments, whether people were waiting to collect the chicks, or whether people were just asking what the whole process is of taking care of a chicken. So once they came up with a problem statement, then it becomes easier to go into the next step, which is basically starting to develop the solution. In the development of a solution, you will notice that in the discovery process and then the definition, it's a lot leaning around organization. But for some organizations, they can start this process with their interior designers. But sometimes, most times, which is what I would encourage, have internal processes that help you discover what the problem is as an organization before you bring in outsiders. So when you come to the development stage, in this stage, you have spoken to the people who are related to the problem. You have defined what the problem is, and now we jump into the designing process. In this process, one of the things that you have to do is, first of all, invite experts to come and design with you. But the second thing is start gaining inspiration. Where are you looking to get inspiration? And a number of spaces that we can jump into this is looking at other related organizations, right? So you're a poultry organization. Who would you gain experience from? Competitors are a good place to start, especially if you notice that maybe their revenues are better, or you notice that even though you're getting in more clients, other people are going to those competitors to go and get business. Start to ask yourself, what is it that they have that we could also incorporate in our business, but do it better? So in this process, you start looking at what are the other things that we need to understand. Now we know that this is how it fully works. When you start coming up with possible solutions, so it could be a thing of, can we expand the space that we have? In this case, which is one of the things that we had done, from a very small customer service, it was expanded to make it much bigger, to ensure that all the processes had their own places where they were happening. So if I walk in and I have a query because I bought a one-day-old chick and after 2 days it's dead, what am I doing wrong? I have a specific place that is well labeled. I can walk in without feeling lost, but I have full direction of where I'm going. If I already know what the vaccine is that I need to get, there's a cashier who is sitting there waiting for me, and I can just go and pay and get the vaccine that I want. But also, if I just want to talk to the manager and understand what are the other products that they have, I can walk into the manager's office. So slowly, we started to develop these solutions, and then we're able to now put up a full plan and say, this is how the circulation works. The last part of the double diamond is basically the delivery. In the delivery, you just don't say, Okay, fine, we're going to now have a manager's office, which is going to be in the corner, and that's it. No. What you do is that you have come up with the solutions, and now you have to test them. Is this the right place to have the manager's office? Yes. Why? Right? Remember, your why questions or your W questions, they're not just coming in at the discovery stage. This is something that you are carrying through the entire design process. So, we have decided that our manager's office is right in the corner. Get someone to walk the floor space. Let them start. Okay, the door is right there, and all they want is to talk to the manager. How do they go there? But if the manager has someone in their office, what do? Do they sit and wait? Is there a place to sit and wait? And then you see what is the distance between the place where they're sitting and the place where they're waiting, and the time frame it takes. And you do that with every point that you have created. You also look at branding. Is it good enough for any person to see, no matter their eye situation? You look at things like the colors that we have, right? We're a brand. And usually international organizations have a brand guideline, so that in every country that you go to, you shouldn't be lost. Like Zambia shouldn't look any different from Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe shouldn't look any different from Angola. So you need to follow that. And sometimes you have to be working with your paint companies and say, is this really the blue we need to be working with? Or is there a different color palette? And you test this out in smaller quantities. And once you have the right go ahead, and then you can spread it out into the full project. This is not the end. In as much as, yes, I had said there are 4 steps in the double diamond, the last point is repeat. You have to repeat this process at every stage that you are doing design. It doesn't matter what type of design you're looking into. It could be just a small office instead of a full customer service center, but you go through the entire process. So, just to wrap this up, remember, you have to discover what is your problem. Then you have to define it. My problem is I have a very small space that needs to be expanded so that all operations are efficient. How do you develop the solution? When you have a clear definition of what it is you're designing, it's much easier to know how to provide the solution. And the last point, which is always a favorite for me, is the delivery. Make sure that the vision you had created is basically what you're going to have. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Design Conversation with Ruth, as we've looked at the entire design process. And I hope you can adopt these when you're looking at the design process in your workspace. But also it helps you create a brilliant brief when you bring in your interior designer to come and bring your vision to life. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Design Conversations with Ruth, where we've discussed everything around the design process. So be sure to follow me on YouTube, Ruth Moto, and on other social media platforms, that is Facebook and Instagram, at Spaces by My Perfect Stitch. And our website is www.myperfectstitch.co. Call us if you have any queries around your workspace design, or if you just need someone to bounce ideas off. And also, if you have a project to run, be sure to have that conversation with us.